All right, gang, time to go. Is there any agenda additions or deletions? All right, I'd ask for a motion regarding the January 8th minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second by Cash. Any comments? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, highway. You have anything to report before we get into the...
Highway crews. I've had different people calling me and complimenting on roads and stuff. There's some potholes on like Cove River Road that got filled in. That was pretty nasty. And they switched over to a different product. It comes in a bag just for them smaller holes. Seems to be holding very well.
All right, does anybody have any questions for the road commissioner?
How's the brine thing? I know last time we were here, we talked about
They
using
haven't, Eddie's, they're
brine.
going to follow up some on that tonight.
Oh, he's going to later on. Okay.
Parker, did you want to talk about your lights and the road commissioner report?
Yeah. So our traffic lights, I don't know how much more you guys want to send out all the details on them. They're made so we don't have to have flaggers. It's what it boils down to. You guys have your questions
Right here.
on them.
This one right here
Yeah.
gives a
Makes
design
our
of it.
life a lot easier.
I guess you're looking for approval to purchase them.
Yes.
And from what I understand, the recommendation is you want to purchase those out of the highway fund balance at this point.
Any other select board members have a comment?
Well, I think that in view of the safety factors and today, because you can put up all the speed signs and stuff you want, but there are some people that still are gonna go as fast as they can, and it's a dangerous position to be a flagger, I would think.
The ones we got the pictures for in here, these are the ones that you guys were talking about that Tinmouth purchased, or is this like the step up from Tinmouth?
Step up.
This is the one, because you talked about the ones from Tinmouth had some.
Yeah. This one here, you can radio control it.
Okay.
And you can hold traffic with a click of a button. So if we drop a tree in the middle of the road, you can stop both
So you
sides.
can hold both sides.
Yes, at once, then open it back up. And then if you want to spend the other $1,400, I believe it is, you can get the thing that tells them you got 10 seconds to sit here before it's going to turn green, or 30 seconds, or whatever it is. Whatever we set it up for, I believe.
Anybody want to make a motion on this?
Yeah, I'll move that we have them where we're gonna get the funds from. So I move that we approve the purchase.
There's a second for discussion.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Are you hearing none? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Keegan.
Yeah. We'll do the radios now too then. So I've got most of the stuff together for radios, and Adirondack Two-Way has a plan out to rent radios with their repeater. So it fixed, we could talk to each other whenever we want. Blah, blah, blah. If we were to purchase a repeater for 50 watt, it'd be $10,000 to $12,000 just for the unit. That's not the power and the land to put it on, nor the cost of the radios. So we'd be liable for anything like antennas, radios, that kind of stuff. Where with Adirondack two-way, you pay the $99 up front to have them put it in, and then you pay a $29 monthly fee on every radio to use their tower. But that includes the radio breaks. We don't pay for it. It's just that's what the $29 costs, upfront costs.
And the issue right now is you guys aren't able to communicate. with the
No, we
radios.
got dead holes really bad.
So you feel this is a safety issue?
Yes.
And
They-
how many radios?
We have 8. Is that including the 9 including the base radio?
So you'd be paying for $29 a month?
Yes, to use the
Each.
repeater. But you wouldn't pay any maintenance. They cover all the maintenance. Like if, you have a glitch, they come down, they fix it. Where with our radios, they come down and we pay them, I think it's $105 an hour to come down and go through our stuff and be like, yep, it's all fixed, and it's never fixed.
The other
It's
thing
just-
is, you wanna mention about the, examples that we could use for testing.
Yeah, they told us we could get a couple units, we could test them out. They'd come down, install them in the truck, like a magnet roof mounted stuff, and then antenna. Put them in the trucks, like me and Joel, we could test them out. Like say like a storm, we can talk, and I can guarantee you, he could be over here and I could be on Tier Road, and I'm not gonna hear him. So if we can spread out and see how they work, great.
Where's your repeaters?
One's in Playco and one's Boardman Hill and one's down south. So they're like within here, but I'm not saying it's the cheaper route on that one, but it fixes the problem easy.
Well, I talked to Matt and he said to try them first. He knows the sales guy and he said there still can be dead spots. So,
There is a dead spot on Walker Mountain Road.
so try them out first before we invest the
Now
money,
that
I
you
think.
come up with that is we can only talk to one another. We can't talk to fire and EMS anymore. It's just solely us. So,
With this service.
yes. If we get our own repeater, we can have our own radios tied in, like their channel on our radio and stuff like that. But that's not the way those work. Because I asked that question straight up.
Well, this is a tryout process first,
Yes,
so I think,
but I don't want to how do I want to put this? I don't want to use them just to. I mean, yes, use them to entertain stuff, not to be like, hey, we're gonna get this fixed sooner or later, but can we use these?
Well, I mean, what I'm thinking is if we can try them, if they'll let you try them for a month,
Yeah.
over the next month, you're gonna know
Right,
what they're capable of.
right.
I know that the company I had that I worked for in Ludlow used a similar service, but for us, the repeaters were too far away.
Okay.
And down there, it didn't work. But up here, it might be a totally different story because Pico's definitely within,
Boardman
so-
Hill's right there as well.
yeah. So, I mean, before we approve roughly $3,000 a year, I
That's
think
it.
it'd be wise to see what it's gonna, if it's gonna work for us or
Well,
not.
like I said, this is not the cheaper way out of it. It's kind of the faster way. Yeah.
And the other thing too is, I mean, this is a faster way out of it, but if we're gonna be spending that kind of money,
we want to check and make sure it works.
well, yeah, but a repeater pays for itself in 3 years. Pay a repeater off.
Is it 3 years old? 5. It's, yeah, roughly.
Well, I mean, at 30,
It's all depending
you said
how
it's
much-
roughly 10, right? For a repeater?
Well, it's all depending on what we go with.
Oh, 12, okay.
10 to 12 or 15 to 20, but I don't think we need 100 water.
I mean, did you have a question?
Then you had,
Yeah, you were talking about being able to talk with the fire department. Now, I've talked with Mark quite a few times about it, and he said that at one time you guys were looking into putting the repeater in with the fire department there on my property, and that's fine and dandy. he said there was an issue about figuring out how to pay, do the power and everything else, but if you guys put a second antenna on that pole, you should be able to reach anything you want to reach in town. I mean, you can't get
Do
much.
we have to,
It's not necessarily true, because Matt says that they have dead spots on the fire department, even with the repeater up there. They still,
really?
They still have dead spots.
So,
But it probably would be better than where we are now.
yeah, so, like I said,
So we're, right now, if one of you's on this side and one of you's on that side, you're not talking.
oh no, it's
I
all
mean,
scratch.
Can you even hit from the valley to Chip and Hook? Can you hit that way or not?
If I get on top of the mountain, like this side of Walker Mountain, I can talk to Joel down here a little bit. But he's like right around here and we'll start
Right
talking.
here. Yeah, okay. Okay. I mean, I think there's some things to look at here. I mean, I think
It's not an easy decision. I mean,
well, I think the radios must have changed because when Bert was road commissioner, he had the base station at his house up there on Paul Austin Road. And we used to be able to talk wherever we wanted to, both ways in the town.
I wonder if that was acting almost as a repeater then.
I turned this one on and tried that.
Yeah. But it's not, yeah.
I
Well-
turned that one on in there and put it on 0 for volume and
Yeah.
it didn't work. I tried.
Well, that's down here though, Joe. It's not up on top of it.
Because you're saying it was up on,
It was up at
on
his,
top.
it was up at his house up there on the farm.
When's the last time your radios were actually tuned and tested and matched up to your antennas and stuff?
Oh, last year.
Last year.
Do they actually put a meter on it and run a match?
They did whatever they come and test them. I wasn't here exactly to watch them do it, but they come and they put all new antennas like 550 and they put antennas, well, the Mac, and they redid some stuff and tightened some stuff up.
Them truck radios are what, 5 watt? I think.
I mean, I guess the question would be
Run a test run.
run a test run, see what it is, and then we got to crunch some numbers. Because if a repeater, if a repeater's going to pay for itself within a number of years, rather than
It's gonna
paying,
pay for itself over time. I mean,
rather than
even
paying for
buying
it yearly.
radios, even buying radios at, I don't know, they're only good for, seems like the one in the grader's got to get replaced when we get that put in. It's just outdated itself.
Problem with electronic world today, you're almost better to rent it than own it.
That's true too.
Yeah.
There's truth to that.
So fast. And if the lightning hits it,
You're done.
out $3,000.
You're done. Yep.
Is that the only convenient service that we would have of this nature, or?
Yeah, I mean, you take the rented, they're gonna pay for everything. You're paying for everything at $29 a month.
Yep.
The install's $99 per radio. So once you get rid of that, you're done. Your radio outdates itself. You're gonna get a new one at their cost, not yours. That's included in the 29. Where if we have our own repeater, like Eddie said, we're at our own maintenance.
It's out of date in a year or less.
Yes, it's.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna go with here, but
Well, I mean, I'm in favor of let's
Let's do the
if
test.
they offered you a test, let's
Yeah.
do a test.
You
I
wanna
mean,
do a
let's
test?
yeah, let's before we commit money, let's see what we're looking at. Let's see if it's going to work. I mean, if it doesn't improve hardly at all, well then we know this isn't the answer. You know,
When
I
they're
hear you.
when they're
No.
testing that though, do they change every vehicle's radio?
Every vehicle's radio, when we're testing them out,
they're just going to put 2 in, right?
we'll probably
Just-
put, like 2, 3.
Your 2 trucks and your 550.
Yeah, you'll do for 3 guys for a snowstorm. Yeah. So they'll basically give you 3 to test,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I can make that phone call tomorrow. That's no biggie. He's been pretty good.
yeah, I mean, that's what I'd say. The proof will be in the pudding. Let's try it, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, it works.
Mr. Chair, do you need a motion on this?
I
or-
would.
Yeah, I move that we engage in the test and see how it works.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good job. Let's have a quick discussion, Quarterline Road follow-up. We received that letter. Do you want to speak to that? Because you did all the emailing.
Well, we attended Rutland Town's Highway Committee meeting, I think a week or so ago, and presented them with a proposal that they just reviewed at their committee meeting. And then I heard from their town administrator that they've declined the offer.
That was a full board, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
They're
like-
full board.
It's highlighted here in their response. I'll read it real quick. The committee did take some time to discuss the offer at the end of the committee meeting, that's we all were at, and brought the topic to the full board. The committee and board appreciate the latest offer. They all agreed it was creative. How's that make you feel? But ultimately voted to decline the offer. They still feel the easiest and least complicated arrangement would be for your road crew to plow and sand our section, and we would reimburse your town at an agreed upon rate. And if your board would be interested in that, please let me know.
That was signed by their,
Bill Sweet.
yes.
Your road commission.
Hmm?
It was by the road foreman. Right?
Yeah.
Any comments? Anybody?
Making comments from the audience?
Shortly. I just want to hear from the select board. Anybody?
We put a proposal out there that I thought it was pretty
Reasonable?
reasonable, real reasonable on their end about the plowing and sanding. And we agreed as a board that we would do it as a trade for whatever you call it, want to call it labor exchange for plowing and sand for us to use up that dollar amount revenue without any funds changing hands. So, and that's what we agreed to before,
We as a board.
we as a board.
All right, I'd like to hear from folks sitting out in the audience.
I have a couple of comments. First of all, in the offer you made to Rutland Town, you already monetized the process because you indicated that there was going to be money, that there was going to be an account off the books. It was calculating cash that was owed for them to use their truck to later on haul sand at some other rate. And they would draw this account down, even though the account doesn't actually exist in a bank or anything. It's just on the book someplace. Right? You get a little piece of paper and it says, oh yeah, we did this, we did that. Clarendon did all these things, and it came to $1,500 for the winter. So now you owe us $1,500 worth of hauling
Labor.
of labor and truck and all that stuff to haul sand during the summer. Am I correct in that? Yes. Okay, all right. Okay. So you've already monetized the process. All right. So you came up with a number you apparently thought was equitable for doing the plowing and the sanding. So now the question becomes is, why not just take it in the form of cash? That's the question. Why not? You already have a number. Why trade services? You can just take the money. So that's the question. Why not take the money? I need to have somebody tell me a good, cogent reason for not just having them sign you a check.
For me, it sets a bad precedent
How's that?
because then you could get a group of private residents with a private road over here. They're going to come to us and say the same thing. Well, we want to pay the town of Clarendon to plow our private road.
What's wrong with that?
We want to you know, there's lots of different things, and
Well, no, not lots of different things. Give me some very specific reasons.
I just did. I just gave you an
Okay.
example. So if a private or Tinmouth comes to us and they want us to do their section of dirt road, or Ira comes to us, we've talked about Weaver Hill, and that's where this precedent, in my mind, at least since, and I realize there's been change in the board, but Mike and I were here, and George might have been on back then, I can't remember. We set that precedent years ago that we were not going to go down that route with the trade of monetary funds. We would do maintenance exchanges, which is what this proposal was. But at that time, we set the precedent and said we would not enter into monetary exchanges with other towns, and I still believe strongly in that. And that's where I'm at tonight.
But you're exchanging money already. You gave a number that, how the account is going to be filled by Clarendon doing stuff, and how the account's going to be emptied by those guys hauling stuff. It doesn't make any difference. This is a very nuanced little differential here that don't see. You're not really giving me a reason why. Is there some other reason why cash can't be exchanged? You could have the same precedent that you just set. Some other town comes in and says, "Well, you do this for us in a service, and I will do that for you for a service." There isn't any difference. This just simplifies the whole process. All it is somebody writes you a check for Cash's crew to take an extra 20 minutes to go down one end, turn around, come back, go down the other end of the Quarterline Road. Right? Now remember, this is not something you're doing for Rutland Town. You're refusing to do this for the residents of Clarendon. Right? So
The road is not Clarendon's.
I don't care if the road's Clarendon.
The road is
people
not
who use it
Clarendon's.
are Clarendon residents.
But the road itself does
That's
not.
irrelevant. It's irrelevant to the fact. The town can take care of the
Well,
equipment
as
and do
one
anything they
person,
want to it.
as one person sitting behind this table, as an elected representative for all the residents of the town of Clarendon, I would say it absolutely is a relevant factor.
Well, you've already monetized the process. I don't see why that wouldn't work. There's the fact that you won't take the money is just your personal feeling about this with no reasoning behind it.
Well, there's
No
no
cogent
reasoning
reason
behind
behind
them refusing to take up our proposal.
They want it to be simpler and easier. That's their reason. You're making it very complicated. They want it to be very simple. We'll write you a check. Give us a bill. We agreed on a rate, and we'll write you a check.
In order to,
That's it. It's
my
very
understanding
straightforward.
is, in order to sand up there, our crew would have to keep coming back down here to the town hall, picking up another load of sand to bring it up there. What was it, instead of 3 loads, you'd have to have,
So it's more than 20 minutes to turn around to come back. If I have to run back down here, because I incorporate, it just adds. Right now I can do it in 3. If I have to go do a little bit, that's really crunching is 3. If I have to do that part, I'll have to go back down here for the 4th, and that adds on. It's all depending where I land. If I'm coming from Tier Road, you're looking at almost 15 minutes down. You're looking at loading. You're looking at almost 40 minutes to return to come back.
Wait a minute. Why can't you put that on the other end of the trip? So it's only 5 minutes.
And
Yo-
furthermore, you go right down there. It's heavily sanded. You go by Schoolhouse Hill Road, it's scantily sanded. You go by our house, it's scantily sanded. But you go by Tom LaVictory's house, it's heavily sanded.
that's because
So
of the hill.
therefore,
That hill is, that's
but
rough.
regardless, our hill is too, it's all ledge. I mean, I'm a taxpayer, I pay taxes. I don't have any children in school, and I depend on the road.
And the fact that the sand has to be hauled all the way from your sand pit to Sound Pal all the way up to the Quarterline Road is not a good factor. You could put the distribution of sand on the other end of the trip coming back. So you just only have to go back maybe 10 minutes to do this. Now, sanding is a variable process. Now, I mean, how much sand does it take to do that half a mile of road? All right?
Ask
you know, half a yard?
ask
We figured 2
road
tons.
crew.
I don't know.
I'm not saying it's gonna take X amount of time. Where you're missing me with the whole 4 loads versus 3 is, yes, you're right. I'll do it all in one shot. I'll do Quarterline to wherever you're talking, to the north end, right?
Yeah.
Come down Schoolhouse.
Yeah.
But see how I do it right now, and I'm going up Tier Road. Actually, I go up Mumford, Tier Road, go up Schoolhouse, out to north end, back down Schoolhouse to hit Misty Meadows. And I'm just about empty. A lot of times I'll have to, when I come back up to do Quarterline, I'll have to go back down Schoolhouse just to make sure I got Schoolhouse. And then, like, you go into Anderson and higher, we try to be loaded to go into that one. So now you got West Timothy, Gravel Pit, New Horizons. New Horizons, you want to make sure you're loaded going into there because, well, small road, you're not loaded, you don't make corners. So, and then you got East Timothy Road left. Now you got the small ones, Peters and
Hotel.
Clarendon Springs Hotel. So yeah, a lot of these you try to hit, like Tier Roads, you go there loaded because you can get up in there. Mumford, you go up loaded. That's just, if I do, I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you go from where I turn around to the line, I'm not gonna have enough. I'm gonna be empty coming down Schoolhouse. So I'm gonna have to revert and run around some other way to get Quarterline one shot, right? So now you're talking, you're not done. I mean,
I don't understand how we're using that much sand, because when I worked on town crew, I used to be able, with a single axle truck, I could sand Quarterline Road from the hook to the town line and down Schoolhouse Hill Road. I didn't have to go into the circle where ours is, but I could do all that with a single axle truck, was 6 yards of sand.
We were closing Quarterline though at that point, weren't we?
No,
Still?
no, Quarterline was open.
And Bert did a fine job at it too. You left at 4 o'clock in
And
the
we
morning.
used
and it was always
to, we
on.
used to take and sprinkle a little down through Rutland Towns, down through there, because we went down and turned around at the pavement. It was a hell of a lot quicker and a lot safer. Rather than turn around where you turn around, and now you got cars coming down through there, sliding possibly into you and everything else. Just smarter to go down to the pavement, turn around, and drag your ass back the other way.
The Green Max 12-yard body.
Should be able to,
So,
should be able
The
to
other one's
sand that
14.
twice.
yes.
so 3 trucks, 6 more yards. I mean, the bigger truck, 6 more yards, 3 loads.
The other thing is maybe Rutland Town doesn't need to be as heavily sanded as what you're doing on the Quarterline Road,
Right.
right? I don't know if
It's a
you're,
pretty easy pitch on that road.
yeah, just enough to keep it from turning into packed white ice.
Let me ask you a question. Have residents been doing some plowing this winter?
Yes,
Hell, yeah.
every time that it's snowed.
You know,
Thank you.
you drive up through here, Clarendon's done their job. The roads were wide open and all fixed.
Yeah.
Rutland Town, as much tax base they have, and you got that little 300-yard of road that's not good, tack it a different way. Get the media involved in it. They got more tax money. Let them fix that frickin' road. Get it up to snuff. It's a safety issue.
Well, and I guess what I'm struggling with too is what has, well, I have my theories as to what has changed in the last 2 years, but I spoke to somebody who was a contractor for Rutland Town, just happened to bump into him, and had kind of an off-the-record conversation. And his conversation with me was, he's like, Robert, he said, I don't understand why this has turned into an issue. He said, I always did to the town line. He said, so something has clearly changed on the other side of the equation, not our side of the equation, because he said, I always did. He said that I was a contractor, that was my section. He said, and he had to do the short section of Boardman Hill. towards West Rutland. And he said, I always did to the Clarendon line. He said it was part of what I did. So, and that
He did
was,
to the town line between Clarendon and Rutland, and he had to go beyond and turn around and
Our driveway.
their
could be,
driveway.
yeah, but
And
again,
then they asked, now this was about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And they asked for the turnaround on our property, and I said, fine, as long as it doesn't become a dump, which it has now, but that was why they wanted the turnaround, so they didn't have to go on her street driveway and can do it before, because the sign is just after the turnaround of it.
so I guess it's safe to say that in those 2 years, on the other side of the equation, you've seen the change too. Then since that, I mean, would you agree that back then
Well,
this-
they used to
this
do it
wasn't
before
an
the
issue?
end of the storm, correct, Shelley?
I'm
They used
sorry.
to have it done at the end of the storm, at least. It was
Yeah.
never during the storm, it was after.
It was generally after, but we never had to plow the road the way we do now.
Well, in the old days, you plowed the whole damn
Yeah,
thing.
back
That's
in the
old.
late '70s, I plowed the whole
Well,
thing.
yeah, that's
because there's
going
no
way back,
houses
yeah,
up there.
yeah.
But, no, when Bert was the road commissioner, when Norm was the road commissioner, and even when Daryl was the road commissioner, Clarendon was plowing all the way down to Pete Billings' driveway, turning around and coming back. And they would only dump sand if the road needed it. And now the weather's changed a little bit since then, I will agree with that. But the road in the last 2 years is definitely way worse than,
But what I'm asking is, again, am I getting an accurate picture from that contractor that's telling me that up until 2 years
but
ago?
see, I don't remember that ever being a contractor.
I don't ever remember the
It
contractor
was
ever
Tripp.
going
It
up.
was
Yeah.
Walt Tripp.
Okay, this
He
is a
would take
different.
his-
It was
This is
he
a
would
different
take a
person.
small
This
truck
is,
Yeah.
And
from Tier Road, and he would go through early in the morning, and it would always be plowed and sanded. And he worked for Rutland Town, and he would make sure that it was open.
a lot of
When
the
she was
issue
working
too
at
is,
UPS and going out early in the morning,
I was
you
going
know,
out at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock in the morning, she'd plow it on the way out. Right? And sometimes you have to, you know, it happened a lot. So.
And I go out at 2, 3 in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning when I get called to the hospital, and it was always accessible.
I think the easier thing would be for you to examine your current position about money. And I think that position needs to be thoroughly re-examined on your part, and decide maybe that the simplest thing to do is to negotiate an appropriate rate with Rutland town to have them pay the town to do that work. There's no reason why this has to become a precedent. They can always refuse somebody else, you know, that wants to have this done. If Center Rutland, if Center Rutland comes to you and says, we want to have you guys do our work, and because you're doing theirs, you have to do ours, you can tell them to go pound sand. It's not necessary that you do that. Nobody's going to make you do that.
And you can add that into your budget. There's an equation to do that for the manpower, for the equipment, for the time.
And get paid for it plus a profit. There's no reason that says you have to break
Right.
even.
The way he has it written here is they still feel, this is the Rutland Town Board, they still feel the easiest and least complicated arrangement would be for your road crew to plow and sand our section, and we would reimburse your town at an agreed upon rate. Now, if
The key is the agreed upon the rate.
Right.
but
Well,
the-
you've already given them the rate.
well,
If you
so
thought it was fair.
my other flip side of this too, and I guess I was a little surprised at how this was worded when it came through. At least the couple board members that I talked to after you had your meeting at Rutland Town, because I couldn't be there, shared with me that from your perspective at the meeting, you felt that they weren't concerned at all about winter, and all they wanted to talk about was grading. Was what the
That
feedback
the input,
was.
feedback I-
Trust me, we need to plow and sand the road, because I don't know if anybody's been up on the Quarterline Road. I know all of us have, and the sand they're throwing down, you can have in the sandbox for your kids.
But so, but what, I guess my point though is like the perspective I got after you went was that it was kind of the exact opposite of this. We get an email that only wants to talk, like it doesn't even mention grading in here at all. And that was kind of the thrust of the conversation when you were there, was what my feedback that I got was. So, and again, I realize I'm at a disadvantage. I wasn't sitting there, so I can't hear it for myself, but that was my take on what you heard while you were there.
It seemed like to them the plowing and sanding wasn't the biggest issue.
No, but now that they answered back, they're not mentioning it.
That's what I'm saying. There's
Yeah,
no
you're
mention of
suggesting.
grading at all, which I thought, and kind of going back to you, Shelley, I kind of thought that was, at least even from your perspective, that was a big piece of this.
It is a big piece of it, and yes, and I will agree with what the other select people said, mentioned to you. He thinks that, Dave Sears thinks that they have their plowing and sanding under control. They don't have their plowing and sanding under control. I plowed it, somebody else plowed it, it has a red Western plow. I met them on the road when I was coming back up the road. And the snowstorms we've had, both Wayne and I have gone out and plowed. So if they think that they're maintaining the road, it's pretty substandard to what it was even 3 years ago.
I read the draft minutes from the committee meeting. I guess at the end of their meeting, they discussed the offer, and it said something about their employees being trained and going to a grading training class so that they can take care of it.
Grading.
Yeah.
But-
To answer your question.
So it kind of
that-
sounds like it flopped again, and they're not
And
really
that's-
interested in talking about that.
And that's why they, in this response, he's only saying plowing and sanding. Right? Is that how you read that?
No, yeah, the email's very clear in my take that they're really only interested in
And
talking
Dave
about
did
that.
say to me on the phone one day when I called him about plowing the road, he said that he wanted to train his guys on a grader. Well, it's going to go back to being able to find a grader, because what he said to me last fall, they wanted a grader, and the graders were all out in outer space, and by the time they could get one, it snowed. So we were left with all the potholes. So that's going to be the next challenge. Is he wants to train a crew, but they don't have a grader.
Now, this project is like eating an elephant. You have to start with one little slice. So the sanding and the plowing is the first little slice. I think that you guys should think seriously about this as a board. About specifically you, Robert, about considering just getting paid to do the work. It's a simple, straightforward process. I don't see any problem with setting any kind of precedent at all. I just don't understand that part. And now it's just a case of negotiating the price. I don't see anything else that's involved in this other than negotiating the price.
Well, I obviously not tonight, but I will commit to you that I will look into more, because I've got a couple contacts legal wise that I rely on regularly to bounce my ideas off about the precedent piece. I will commit to you that I will look at that. But
The other thing is winters, like we got 2 months of February and March where we're sanding and plowing. Maybe into April if we get an April snowstorm.
hopefully not.
Yeah, right. I know all you guys. But my point there is, try it for 2 months. Try it for 2 months. See what happens. See if it ends up working out that both Clarendon's happy and Rutland Town's happy, and you're making the Clarendon residents happy.
He's happy. You're right.
Let me
Yeah.
talk to you as the road commissioner. What do you think?
I feel we're getting strong-armed here. We had an agreement that it's Rutland Town's road. They need to take care of it. And my feeling is the people on that road need to address it with Rutland Town. To be more up.
Well, and I guess the other flip side of it too, talking to kind of touching on your point too, Rutland Town's obviously still got theirs, and we already had this discussion, right? It's still classified as Class 4 road, that they're still technically closing that section. which we've been down that road and that conversation as well, that with the amount of population that is there on their side and our side, because I mean, it does go both ways, that, you know, the realities of, is that still a class 4 road? Now, obviously, we've brought ours right up to the town line. We've improved and we've changed that on our end. But the thing that, I don't know if I want to say troubles me, or I don't know how to word it properly, so don't read too much into how I say this. The thing that I see is there doesn't seem like, because even from, and Shelley, correct me if I'm wrong, but even from almost day one, the response was, we're not going to class 3. Like, we're not touching it. We're not going to class 3. And, I mean, that to me doesn't exactly instill give and take here. I mean, that's going to be a problem no matter what, and that's the problem you're facing even in the summertime, because the reaction is, well, it's class 4. We don't have to do that. We don't have to go and do that.
And when they brought that up at the very first meeting that some of us were at, we told them, we don't need the road upgraded to a class 3.
Mm-hmm.
That just increases traffic and speed and everything else. We don't need that. The road itself, except for that one spot where all the potholes are, the road itself is in pretty decent shape. Yeah, it probably needs a little bit of gravel. You know, the next time that they go to grade, they can't keep just grading.
Needs better drainage there.
In
What's
that
that?
low, you know, that kind of that swampy section.
Yeah.
And they talked to Jim. Jim happened to be there one day when they were like, what would you do here? They were asking him his opinion. So it was obvious they didn't even know what to really do with that wet section of the road where all the potholes are. But my point there is that the road doesn't need a ton of improvement. It really is fine. Just plow and sand and grade a couple times a year.
The state says that whatever you do with a class 4 road, you have to maintain. So in other words, if you don't do anything, you keep it a trail, there's nothing you can do. But they
Have been doing stuff.
Yeah, they had upgraded it. They did, not us.
Right.
And they have to maintain it at what they have upgraded it to, even though it's still a class 4 road. That's what the statute said. We checked
Right.
into this.
Right. I remember all of that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they do not understand that.
Well,
The other thing is, to your point, Shelley, we have technically 2 months left of winter. Hopefully less, but 2 months.
Now, ski season's too short as it is now.
Yeah. I'm wondering what offer they would make financially.
you won't know until you ask.
You gotta ask.
Well, before it was FEMA rates, right? That's what they said.
I don't remember.
No, before they, initially they said that they would give you contractor fee.
Correct, and
That
I
was
saw
that-
in writing somewhere FEMA rates,
FEMA.
which I pulled FEMA rates and they're a joke
Let's see here.
compared to what stuff really is costing.
I mean, I
I
think
think
that's,
FEMA rate doesn't
that's
include
of
operator.
less importance. The idea is you can negotiate the price.
Right.
And I would think they would be interested in coming up with something that would make us happy if we got to that point, because they'd rather not have the headache. So, I mean, there's negotiation room in the price.
Let's face
But
it,
even if
they're sick of seeing us at their meetings, and you're sick of seeing us at their at your meetings.
it's not, they're gonna pay us what they feel deemable, reasonable on their end, right? Because they really don't care about the plowing. They are more focused on grading. If I was correct at one time.
Well, at one point, but now it sounds
So,
like it's
but
kind of
even-
flopped.
Even if we said, you know, $50 a trip, they're gonna be like, no, 25. I mean, you know what I mean? Because they don't have us. You know what I'm saying?
But could we at least have a conversation with them?
Yeah,
and negotiate?
I'm not
That's
saying-
all. No,
I'm
I
not
understand
saying
where
that.
you're. I understand where you're coming from. Okay, but we don't know what. You know, let Clarendon go to Rutland Town and say, "This is what we want." Right? Make everybody happy. We'll keep our citizens from going to your highway and your town meeting days.
We thought we
We did
did,
do
and they
that
said
before.
we're awful creative.
Let Channel 3 take care of it.
Yeah, good luck.
I'm telling you folks, you try turning the truck around in Shelley's driveway, all them trucks loaded with sand, you're talking 50,000 pounds. I drove truck for a fair amount, know a little bit about them. That's just hard on them, it's twisting all the drives and everything every time you do that. Best place to go right down, turn around like you always did, at the driveway down there on the pavement. I realize Rutland Town doesn't have no shame. That's their road, they should take care of it. I shouldn't have to drive up through there and drive through a wall of snow when our roads are plowed and bare. That's just not right. These are connecting roads, that's what this is all about.
And I don't think that Rutland Town even has sand. I mean, I'm willing to take a ride tomorrow, and when I get done at Meals on Wheels, I can ride up Post Road, stop at their town shed, but I almost guarantee you that they don't have sand in there, at their town shed.
Who's coming up to there? Is it part of Hubbard's route then, or is it?
No, no.
Hubbard
it's
stops at the tar.
At the tar, the
Right.
guy
They
named
come up
Chris.
with a small pickup.
And they-
They must buy a load off from, oh, they could be buying it off from Carrera though, one stop.
Rutland Town hasn't put any sand on that road. I've seen them twice with their truck plowing, and they have their sander on the back of it, but both times it had salt in it. So they're not gonna spread salt on that road, just like you guys shouldn't be spreading salt on that road either. I mean, I've personally seen the truck twice on the road.
The Rutland Town contracted truck, you mean?
No, it's not a
No,
contracted
Rutland
truck.
Town's 550, 350, whatever it is. It's their small truck that's been up there and plowed, and with their sander on it. And they turn around in the turnaround at Dave's, and they turn and they go back down through.
Let's look at the facts. We said, Rob put this offer out there. We agreed, the select board agreed. We also said that if they turn that down, then we're gonna end this conversation. Right in the open meeting. Technically speaking, they came back and said, in my opinion, said that, no, we didn't like that offer. But then they put this back out there. Now it's up to this 5-member board right here to make a decision. Because we did say in an open meeting that if they didn't approve what we had offered, then we were not going to continue this conversation.
When you define, continue this conversation, what are you saying?
That we made the offer. Rob, you want to speak to what you had offered at that time? In other words, in your opinion, you made this offer.
Well, they put to us that they wanted us to give them our best possible, however it was worded in
Yeah.
that, our best possible scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And at least my take on it was the board felt this was the best possible scenario.
I'm clear on that piece of it. What I'm asking is define continuing the conversation.
What Mike's suggesting, I think, is that the stance of the board at the time was if it didn't turn out favorably, that we were going to end it.
That's
Okay,
exactly.
and what are you saying you're gonna end?
Any further discussion?
Okay.
That's what, because the majority of this board voted in that direction. Do you have an opinion, Art?
I said right from the start, we shouldn't be doing Rutland Town roads. I still stand for that.
Rob?
I've gone round and round. I've committed that I will go back and reconsider my position, but not tonight. But where I'm at right now, I've shared tonight.
My opinion at the time was I want to stand up for the taxpayers in our town. George?
I share if I understood you correctly, Mike, I share Mike's opinion.
So George, we've heard very little from you tonight. What is it that you'd like to see then?
What would I like to see? I would like to see, well, let me back up one more step. This board sits on and makes decisions on a variety of things during the course of the year. Each time an issue, however you want to think about the problem that comes to us, or we set about discussing pros, cons, why we should, why we shouldn't. One of the things that was under consideration always is, are we establishing a procedure for any particular problem that comes before us? This is something that you guys seem to be concerned about all the time, which is okay. But how much weight do you want to give to that notion? Seems to me, if you look at each case or each problem that comes before you and judge it on the merits that is being presented, then that's what we should do. Now, you bring up the idea, well, people from the, it's not Tier Road, what is the end called?
Oh, Weaver Hill, Ira side, yeah.
If they come and say, gee, we'd like to have this done for whatever reason, let's listen to their rationale. How many people are using it? How much traffic is it? And you can even compare to what this situation is and decide, do we want to take that on or not at that point? It doesn't mean that if we do one, that we always have to do every other one. And it is a consideration, but if it's the only one, I think we may be backing ourselves into a corner at some point. I don't know.
With that though, there is a difference between Quarterline Road and that road that goes in the,
Yeah, Ira.
because it's not, I don't think in the winter, it's not used for a throughway kind of traffic like
I
Quarterline Road.
have no idea.
And I think because of how the roads are maintained, coming off of, well, I think the way you maintain it going all up Walker Mountain and then up over that way, if there's a safety issue, in other words, if there's a fire, has to go up there, or ambulance, our side is maintained where most of the people live.
Yes.
So I don't see us getting into any kind of a conversation, with Timoth or whoever that is.
Well, again, I think if we look at things in a case-by-case basis and make our decision based on facts and figures and opinions as they come to them and weight them as best we can, that would be beneficial. Now, the issue of people with private roads coming in and saying, hey, plow our road. Well, if we get enough of them coming and asking us to do it, we should maybe able to handle the salary of a fourth man pretty easily.
My concern with that was, I've been thinking about this since Robert mentioned it, would be private roads are not maintained or constructed to the same standards of even a class 4 road.
That is correct.
So, if you're bringing in a 50,000 pound truck onto that road, you're potentially opening up a can of worms that could cause real problems.
So what you're suggesting is that there's a very valid reason for saying, gee, we can't do that, that does not fall into...
Yeah, or alternatively, if you go ahead with a policy, the board would need to pass a resolution, I guess, saying that it will not be done for any private roads, or any roads done.
We'd have to develop a policy.
Minimum of a class 4
There
standard.
is already
or
an
our truck
established
standard.
policy by the
Okay.
state that if a town road is not owned by the town, the only way that people who live on it can ask for what you're suggesting is that they have to bring it up to the same
Okay.
spec as a,
Correct.
that's in
All right,
the state
that's-
statute.
That's a piece of information I didn't have when Robert mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, if it's a private road, that's the process it has
They
to
already
go
have to bring it
through.
up to
It
a
has to
minimum
go,
of class
yes.
4 standard.
Isn't that what happened
Class
with
3,
Sunny?
actually.
Class
for
3?
us. Yeah, it would have
Yeah.
to go to class 3.
And that's
Sunny
exactly
had to
what
bring that
happened.
road
This-
up,
Correct. Sunny Hill Drive was the last one that did it.
And then he paid to have it upgraded to what the
It
standard
was
is.
upgraded to standard, and then the town took it over.
So what just happened in the last few seconds is that you supported the notion that I had of taking and judging every case presented to this board on the
Case by
facts
case.
involved. And it seems to me like there's a lot of facts involving a private road would make it easy for us to say, no, we can't do that.
Well, that's.
Well, if we say to somebody that owns a private road that you gotta bring it up to a class 3 standard, otherwise we're not gonna do it, why are we gonna say, okay, Rutland Town is a class 4 road, but we're gonna do it?
But it is
It's not a class 3. Bring it up to a class 3, then we'll do it.
the difference to that is, though, it has already been maintained to a certain level. And if you look at what the Class 4 is, a like a bike path kind of thing in statute. That's, Katie, you've been all through reading all those things now. It's a path.
I know, I've read them. I've read the thing.
Yeah.
I know what it is.
But they have upgraded it beyond. It's not quite a class 3, but they're still calling it a class 4 because they don't want to put the ditching in and things like this, I think. Yes.
We're still forgetting about emergency services. Right, Clarendon Fire Department is gonna come up from Campbell Road. Ambulance services are gonna come up from Campbell Road. So if the road's not plowed, maintained, or graded, now all of a sudden, and it's not just, Patrick and Wayne and myself, but it's gonna be Jim and Kent Belden and probably even Heidi. And there's a lot of other people that are on the class 3 section of the Quarterline Road that are heading farther south. The town's gonna come that way. They're not gonna go down to Walker Mountain and come up. And we came down Walker Mountain Road tonight, and it's like, and why did I go this way? Because it's shorter, but you know what? With those curves on it, the road was fine, but it's like, yeah, it's off camber and it's slimy, and so anyway, we're forgetting about emergency services, which was
Especially now with the ambulance service having
in
a
West
garage in
Rutland.
West
Yeah.
Rutland.
Now, the last question would be you, Cash. Because I asked each one of the other select board members, what's your opinion on that? And if you were to say, back to Rutland Town and say, here's what the cost would be, assuming that we would have to plow it every other week and sand it every other week.
We as a board had, it's right in the minutes, that this is our last proposal in discussion.
That's what I said. That's what I mentioned before I got this started.
That's where I'm at with it.
Now,
much-
Cash,
So Cash, that means you're unwilling to even enter into the possibility of doing the calculations to send a number to the Rutland Town. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do the calculations to give Rutland Town a
That'd
number.
be a,
You already did that once.
the board already decided that we sent a proposal and that if Rutland Town didn't accept it, that was it.
I mean, I guess what I was,
Robert mentioned
personally, what
something
I was
about-
hoping for, just if you want to hear my thought process, my hope was that they might bounce back and say, you know what, we're not 100% on board with what you're thinking, but here's what we're thinking, and how about we do this instead, and alter the trade. Instead, I mean, this is just, well, we want you to pay, like, we want to pay you. Well, okay, that might be the easiest, but right now, at least 3 members of this board aren't on par with that. That's where we are. So, I mean, if they wanted to bounce back to us a different proposal and say, you know what, we really don't like the hauling sand option, but we would consider this, I think all of us said we'd be open to considering it if it was to come back that way.
So how about if we contact Bill Sweet and say, hey, give us a cash dollar value
That's-
with what you're willing to pay?
See, that's what I was just reading this over again and looking at this, and it says, we still feel the easiest and least complicated arrangement would be for your road crew to plow and sand our section, and we would reimburse. But he did not give you any hard numbers. So what
That's what
you're
negotiations are all about.
right. So what you're suggesting is, at this point, this board said, if you didn't take our plan, then that's the end of it. That's what we're trying to say here. However, if they come back and give a number, which is a counter proposal, instead of just writing something that's like this, maybe that'd be something that we would then reconsider.
I think it's something that you need to explore because you don't know what that number is.
Well, and again, we're venturing off into the realm of hypotheticals here. And again, there's no counter proposal on the table. In my opinion, and you're right, this is how negotiations work. We put a proposal on the table. This is not a proposal back to us.
But it is
At
in
all.
ways.
No, it's not.
No.
No way. Come on. Are you kidding me?
It's a
Well, wait a minute.
I've been in tons of
Wait a
negotiations.
minute.
That's not a
What
negotiation.
What you did was you told them you wanted to do this and you didn't want any money figured. Money traded back and forth in
Sure.
by hand. Now what they're telling you there is basically a proposal back that we don't want to do this swapping the time back and forth. We want to pay you directly and everything else. They haven't said that the dollar figures that you put on a piece of paper that day when we went to that meeting for, I didn't have a copy of it, but was
But there
so
wasn't
much
a-
an hour
It
for.
wasn't $1.
But it's not even saying that, Jim.
Yes, it was $1.
It doesn't.
No.
It doesn't even
No, it
say.
wasn't.
Well, we agree with your assessment of the values, and we're proposing we'll pay you that.
Right.
It doesn't even say that. That's why I'm saying this. And with all due respect to Rutland Town, I know several of the people over there. This is a joke of a counter proposal. This isn't a counter proposal.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you're serious about negotiating, throw something at us to negotiate. That's not a negotiation. That's a, well, this is it really is. I mean, I read
And
it as
they
a
want us
rejection.
to make the
I feel
counter-proposal.
like we have, in my opinion, again, from our perspective, we've done our due diligence of putting something forward. This isn't due diligence of putting something forward back.
Well, if we had put something, if we had accepted the letter initially 7 months ago, instead of sending it back saying we're not interested, then that might have opened up a proposal. But because we're going back and forth 7 months later with nothing, now they're playing games. Now, if you can't come up with a proposal, money-wise, I'd be more than happy to come up with a figure.
That's what I just asked. How much would that cost?
You guys already figured it out.
That's why I'm saying,
How much-
and I'm
how
in
much-
agreement with Jimmy that there's a value that's
He already
been
figured it out. It was in that proposal you sent Rutland Town. There's a dollar value attached to it. This is a dollar bank process. You guys bank money when you do the work, and then you draw the bank down when you get your services back from Rutland Town. So you've already put a dollar value on it. So now you just have to write them back and say, okay, sure, here's the dollar value. Just say, okay, we agree. Here's the dollar value. Whatever it was, $78 a run.
That was
You know-
just for getting sand.
That's it.
But
I don't see the problem.
But our proposal also included grading. So, I mean, if we're not gonna do, are we gonna do the grading?
But
We're
no,
not gonna
just
do the
drop the
grading. We're
grading
gonna
off
do
and give 'em the
grading
pro-
at a price, we're not gonna do the grading.
Just give them the plowing and sanding cost part of it. Say, okay, here's the plowing and sanding part. You just pay us this amount. I'm assuming that'll be a substantial profit to the town in the form of dollars.
should be.
You'll actually make money if you include all your costs, including depreciation on the equipment, manpower, materials, repairs, insurance, all that stuff, and it'll still be a profit to the town. Per mile basis.
And my question to this board would be, is there, because of two things. One, we've already established that we don't want to do anything if they didn't go our proposal. Now they're coming back and saying this. We could contact them and say, well, in your counter proposal, if that's what you want to call it, term, what is the actual cost that you're willing to?
Sure.
That might,
You can do that, but the easier thing might be to say, well, we got your proposal, and you apparently didn't have a number in mind, so here's our number. Whatever that number was that you previously figured out for just using the truck to go plow and sand. Just give them that number again, only you put it in the form of a proposal that you'll take in cash. That's it. Simple as pie. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the world. Forget about the grading for the time being. Do the grading later. Don't do it at all.
How much was that proposal? How much?
Grading, plow and sand, each occurrence is $68. I have it right here.
Got it right there.
$68. And I figured it out, but about $38 with really substantially pumped up numbers would still be a profit to the town, given all those factors.
Now that's $68 just for what?
It was, the proposal was plowing $25 an occurrence, plow and sand $68 an occurrence, and then grading $200 an hour. That was,
So there you go. There's the numbers. You already gave them dollar values.
And they turned it down.
No, they didn't turn
No, they
it
didn't
down.
turn
They're
it down.
negotiating with you.
There's no dollar figures in this from day
They're
one.
just saying that they don't wanna, they don't want.
They don't want to be inconvenienced by going to get sand for us, but we have to be inconvenienced by doing their road.
But they're paying you for it
They're paying you
at a
for it.
profit.
Paying you for
Well,
it.
we're going to pay them for going and get the sand by doing their road for them. It's the same thing. And they weren't interested.
But you're making an additional bump on top of it.
Yeah, we inconvenienced them. Isn't that horrible?
And what about all the Clarendon residents?
Who are getting inconvenienced.
Clarendon residents that use that road along with a host of other people, and let's go back to emergency services.
And when there's a fire, and when there's road construction down on the other end, the traffic was unbelievable. But no, we did not want to place any car meters up there because we were afraid to see the numbers.
No, that's not true. We could have gotten car counters from Rutland Regional Planning Commission at no charge to the town.
Nothing.
But that, when we didn't do that, that's why I sat up there three different times of the day.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see, for myself, if that were the case. What was the cost again? Did you have theirs?
the proposal that was the plow rate was $25 per occurrence. The plow and sand rate was $68 per occurrence. And then the grading was $200 an hour.
All right, but we're just talking plowing and sanding right now.
$68 was,
What do you do that road a lot?
That's his main road.
Huh?
That's his.
Yeah.
His section road.
All right. Would that $68, that extra, and the convenience would be able to turn around in a safer location?
we did 68 off of what it'd take us in sand and the wear and tear on the truck. Minus, it was the FEMA rate with our pay, if I remember correctly. And that's where we came up with the 68. That wasn't like, I don't know what a contractor would get to do that. What was that, 3/4 mile, Shelley?
No, it's less than that.
It's a half a mile.
I have a
So
question
I
for
don't
you.
know.
And actually, it's even less than a half a mile because they plowed a Deidre Sneeze house. So you only have to do to Deidre Sneeze
Right,
driveway.
Right.
Mr. Parker, what's the maximum time that you'd have to use to make a round trip to get extra sand, depending on where you work?
If I go up Tier Road, that's my furthest one away. I go up Tier Road, try to hit schoolhouse. Now I'm not gonna be able to get the north end, so somehow I gotta incorporate less, you know what I mean, less miles on the road to where I'm going.
Yep.
So I'm gonna have to do Quarterline Road all in one shot, say if we do this. Quarterline's one shot, so, I mean, then you got, so do I travel all the way back to, say, East Timoth Road? Cause that's not a bad one to sand, because it's got a couple hills, blah, blah, blah. Then I load back up and go up there. I I can't put it on until I do it.
Just give me, is it, can you do a round trip in half an hour?
No,
Can you do it in 45 minutes?
it'd be pushing. By the time you load yourself, you're
Okay.
talking time.
My point is, $68 a time, then figure out some percentage to add on for an extra round trip. And that would be the price that you wanna charge.
So you're, in
And
other
tell
words,
them why you're
in
charging.
other words, you're suggesting you would add an hour minimum to it
Something of that nature.
because
yeah.
you've got to add them.
I get
I
that.
mean, the point is that we gotta make it worth our while to do it, if we're gonna do it.
Here's the thing for me is just to do my driveway, sand it. I am charged $75 to sand my driveway.
Oh, you got high price hand too.
Well, my little driveway for plowing and sanding, it's 75.
Yeah, I plow my own, but it
Right,
means
so we're cheap.
sanding wise. So if we made a counter proposal for just those two events, in other words, plowing and sanding, for $70.
On top of what was already suggested,
Yeah.
because you already were at 68 or whatever.
Yes, but they turned down a good deal for doing,
Because they want cash.
Hmm?
They want cash. They don't want to exchange services.
You wanna pay cash.
They have to pay cash.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying, $70.
Well, aren't they paying their current contractor to plow and sand the section of the Crick Road that you were planning on doing for them? They were paying that guy something like $78 for that section of road. From the town line to,
Building Sugar House.
Building Sugar House.
Yeah.
They were paying $78 for that.
I didn't see that figure.
I don't, where was that figure? Because I never saw that.
I never saw that figure either.
I heard the like they
3,500.
I heard that they estimated
3,500.
it was going to be 3,500
Yeah,
or
it was
whatever.
10 trips that.
It was, yeah, they had some certain number of trips, you know, if you do the math, it comes out to like $78 for that piece of road.
So is $70 unreasonable or?
$78. It was like $80.
No. I mean, for us to counter what they.
Well, the thing about the having to do this extra mileage is really dependent on the most efficient way to run the sanding route. You know, I'm guessing the sanding route can be turned around in a bunch of different ways as long as going up these steep hills you have serious load on to get up them. Like going up, you know, Walker Mountain Road, I wouldn't go up that thing, you know, unless I had a full load and I was running a bulldozer on it, you know, in the wintertime. You know, somebody's apparently daring enough to go up there, you know, drive up that road in a truck. But, you know, Tier Road's pretty steep, and now you got to have a lot of weight on to get it up, you know. I've been plowing my driveway for 40 years, and, you know, even it's just, I got the small truck, a 350 Ford, my driveway is steeper than any of those roads. Sometimes you just can't get up it. You gotta have chains on it to get up the thing. So, even with chains on, you can't deal with it. So I understand how the plowing stuff works, but that doesn't mean the routes can't be rearranged or the sand density can't be changed. You know, the question is well, what sand density do you use? You back off on some of these places that don't need really dense sand, so you save a little more sand to just get a light coating on the Quarterline.
Stop putting it on my
You know,
road.
it really has to do with, you know, you've got 13, 14 yards of sand and so many miles to do, a road to do. It doesn't all have to be done at the same density. I'm sure they're not doing that now, right, Cash? You don't plow everything. You don't spread it the same density all the way, do you?
Bill's one to answer that.
You know? You don't plow the same density for all the roads you're plowing, do you? How much sand you're putting out? How much you're spreading?
No, you try to, if you have like driveways coming out, take like East Timothy Road. We used to never do anything down through there. Now we give it a coat.
Yeah.
When you get to the driveway so they can turn out of it, you give it a little heavier.
Yeah.
It's not like going up the long hill up the Quarterline, or it's not going up in the Deer Road where, you know,
Right. I mean, the Victories needs a lot of sand.
boy, yeah, I mean, you ought to go up at
You don't
70,000
even
pounds.
have ski slopes that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
from everything I've heard on this discussion of money and rates and all that, what I would do, from what I've heard so far in the last few minutes, is I would start with Rutland Town saying, hey, I want $100 sand and plot,
Right.
and see where it goes.
For every time. that
Yes,
was
for every
sanded,
time.
every time that was sanded and
Right.
plowed.
All the worst, all the
And
worst
if they
is gonna
say
happen.
yes to that, you're gonna wonder how much more I could go.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on it.
Sure. All right, and you wanna make a motion?
Sure. I'll move that we suggest to Rutland Town, or propose to Rutland Town, that we would consider doing the plowing and sanding at $100 in occurrence.
There's a second for discussion. Is there a second for discussion? Look good, George.
Well, I think it's
Fails
very
for lack of a
disheartening, considering we're taxpayers.
Pardon?
And we already mentioned the safety issues, and obviously you don't care about us.
Well, that's not true.
So maybe we need a whole
Obviously,
new
Rutland
board.
Town doesn't care about you.
No, it's
Nor should
working
they.
with, it's working
What do you
with,
mean, nor should they? It's their road.
but see how close-minded we are? We're not even opening it up for safety for our citizens, for the taxpayers.
There
We're
are
not
other
even
ways you can
considering
go.
that. No, not to get, I have to be responsible for 20 minutes. I can get there in 20 minutes, the way I go. Now, if you have surgery, an emergency surgery, would you like me to take 45 minutes to get to the hospital when you're laying there in the emergency department waiting? I don't think so.
Is it my fault that it's a class 4 road and
You're
that
the
Rutland
one that
owns it, Rutland
presented
Town
it that
owns
way
it,
to me.
and Rutland Town doesn't want to plow it? Is it my fault?
No, it's not your fault. We're trying to work together as citizens.
I take it none of us can second it, right? That's not allowed?
I'm not sure even if I could, as a chairman,
Okay.
could second it. I don't know what the, if legally able to do that.
I don't see why you can. Doesn't
As
matter.
far as you're seconding it,
You did that
generally the
proposal,
chairman
you
can
did
only
that other
ever-
proposal without us voting on it, so I don't see why you need our approval to do it.
You don't. We're gonna run into that same problem a little bit later in the agenda if we ever get to it.
Yeah. Tonight sometime?
And back to safety, that's the safest way to go. You told me there's other ways. I did other ways since I was 20. Walker Mountain isn't a treat at 2 in the morning when there's no sand or salt on it. And probably these guys can tell you, they've seen me a couple of times on that corner going sideways down. Now, Schoolhouse Hill Road isn't a peach either. You go by Parker's and then you take that corner and you can go sideways all the way down. And furthermore, where that red house is, where those branches are sticking out, I mean, the poor, I don't know if it was Joe or if it was Mr. Baker, had to wait for me to come down because I wasn't going to scratch my car on those twigs that are hanging out of that blue truck.
I have to use Schoolhouse Road.
But you
But
got other
you
ways to
don't have
go.
emergency calls. You
True,
don't
I
have to
can
be
go up
there.
Schoolhouse, or I can go down Schoolhouse. But either way, I gotta go Schoolhouse Road.
You don't have to do it in the middle of the night when they're not plowing. You don't have to do it on holidays when no one's out there.
So Art made a motion, and you're not sure you can second it. And then it goes to.
George made the
Or
motion.
George made a motion,
Yeah.
and you're not sure you can second it. And then it'll come to a vote if you say you can second it, right?
That's correct.
And then the 5 of you are gonna end up right where we've been all along.
Absolutely.
Art's he's not gonna move, okay? Cash is not gonna move. And Robert is stuck on the precedent thing, which he's gonna find out about. That's where we're at, right?
That's where you're at.
Or you could pull your motion and I could ask the board, is there anyone objecting to the board chair sending an email back to Rutland Town with this amount as a proposed amount? And then if they come back and say, okay, then we can have a vote on that.
Right, so you'd be asking your board if it's acceptable to them to do a counteroffer, right?
He would do a count.
Right,
I would do that.
right. Sounds good to me.
Now,
I'll withdraw the motion.
okay?
I
think where I'm at is you're making it, I'll go, yes, I'm dealing with my precedent. Okay? I want to see some reality from Rutland Town that they're putting some sort of a dollar amount on this. All of the work and all of the dollar and all of everything has come from our side. That's why I'm saying this is not a negotiation. I've been in negotiations. I've had to negotiate contract after contract after contract. This is not a negotiation.
Let me ask you this, Rob. Given your mindset on this, do you have any objection if I, as the board chair, answer this email?
I have
with
no problem with there being some sort of a toss back, but I'm telling you right now, I don't want to see a dollar amount from our side thrown at them. That we've already done that. To your point,
Even if you make a profit on this thing. You don't care if the town makes a profit on it.
Listen to me. We've already done that. You've established that over and over again tonight. We've already put a dollar amount with the service agreement. That's why I'm saying if there was interest in this, why doesn't this email read, we're willing to pay you based at the service agreement rates that you put at us?
Ask them for a dollar number. Maybe they overlooked it. Why don't you just give them a dollar then?
Come on.
Hey.
Really? Are we thinking that?
Yeah,
Are we
I'm thinking
serious?
that. Yeah, I'm
No.
serious. I've negotiated a lot more contracts than you have, and I'm telling you, sometimes you just have to give a little extra push on their end. And so, what difference does it make if you come back to them with a dollar value? Does that somehow diminish you as a man or something? Is that what you're telling me?
Excuse me. That's completely
What's the
insulting. Are you serious?
What's your problem then? I don't understand.
You know what? I'm done for tonight. I've had enough tonight.
Well, I think we need a whole new board, because this board is too
My
close-minded.
personhood is not going to be insulted. Have a good night, folks.
So do you have a quorum to make any decisions?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
They got 3, 4, 3 out of 5.
All right, Art, what do you want to do?
I stand with Robert. Let them I'll tell you what. Tell them to offer, put a dollar and send it to us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Don't
what I
give
just
them
said.
a dollar.
Okay.
Let them give us a dollar.
All right.
And let us say no.
All right. I agree with that. Go ahead.
I'll try anything. Go around with that.
Okay. You got that?
Is that a
Is it-
motion? Is that?
And we spend
No.
way too much time on it.
Sometimes you got to
No
be nasty.
motion.
No.
There's
So-
an agreement that our chairman is going to ask for a dollar amount. Is that what I think I hear?
Yes.
Via email?
Yeah. Shoot it back. So essentially just say that this was a long discussion at this meeting, and we would ask you to give us a dollar amount to what your counter proposal.
Oh, I'd leave the counter proposal. Just dollar amount.
Just for the plowing, and just
Yep,
limited to
plowing and
plowing and
sanding.
sanding.
Yep.
And no swaps.
No swap.
We'll take a check at the end of the year.
I'll send a draft email, but basically I'm responding with what you propose for an hourly rate.
Okay.
Hour per trip.
For a trip, I
Or per occurrence.
That was only 45 minutes. No.
An hour and a half.
Holy Christ.
do. It
Ridiculous.
was a short discussion we were going to have in the
Absolutely
Quarterline Road.
ridiculous.
7 months ago, it would have been shorter if you'd taken the proposal and looked at it, instead of saying, don't bother blinking on the paper.
We're not interested.
Let me make this point. When your dad was the chairman on this
Yeah.
board, our meetings used to last till 11:30, 12 o'clock at
Don't
night.
have to tell me, Mike. I sat at a lot of them.
Yep. All right, moving right along, kinda. Certificate of highway mileage. And that has to,
We need board signatures on that.
Signature with no change.
yeah, but it's just,
That's the total mileage that we got in town, that's what they're talking about,
Yeah.
We all have to sign this, Katie?
I thought it was,
And the town clerk. But I
Okay.
can have her do it tomorrow.
So, like, for the addition of the, road
that
for
was-
that Sunny did, does that include the increase in mileage of what we have?
what was this again?
When you said, we'll take on Sunny's road,
Mm-hmm. That's already been added last year.
yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so I'd entertain a motion, and also in that motion, say we all have to sign it.
I'll, make a motion the board chair sign it with the rest of the board signing. 2, for the certification of highway mileage.
Second the motion.
Stay the same.
Any further, any further discussion? Are you hearing none? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Okay, you got a copy to sign? Okay, good.
Yeah. Here, Art, sign that. Safety grant. PACIF grant application.
So this is a grant that I'm applying for on behalf of the highway department for, construction zone type signs. It's a 50% match.
Yes. It's just
Oh,
the
yeah.
select board chair to sign that.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. So I entertain a motion.
So moved.
We'll second it.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? DMV authorization.
What is that?
So every year I do an operating check for our CDL drivers. So this is giving me permission to do that on behalf of the town.
Oh, that's this letter here?
Yeah.
Has to be signed by the, so I'd ask for, a motion to sign this.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Engineering bids for 2023 flooding.
So I set the due date, for the 16th of last week and I received no bids. So was looking for a direction on how you want me to proceed. If you want me to extend the deadline, I did, directly reach out to 5 engineering firms and posted it around town and posted it on VLCT's like classifieds. And heard back from 2 that they were unable to bid on it because they had, too full of schedules. So I'm not sure what direction we want to go at this point.
You guys want to extend it?
Yes.
I have to extend it.
Yeah, we have to.
See if somebody's
Like
working
another
on it.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
say?
2 weeks.
Now, when you, select, or when you request these, you do it by mail or email or?
Email.
Might, you know, sometimes a letter gets more attention these days, I think.
In the mail? Like send a, okay. I can do that.
Okay, approval of the select board warrants. It's floating and drifting wherever you guys all signed them. Anybody else want to be a guest tonight? Public comments, please. Old business. New business. Lister appointment discussions.
Mr. Chairman, I say we table this, seeing as how we have somebody running against him. And I don't think this board should get involved in the election, so I think this should be just tabled.
And wait for the election.
Wait for the election, let the voters decide.
Is there any other comments from any of the board members?
I'll agree with that.
You're making that a
We're coming
motion, or
right
is that
I'll
just?
make a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We have some listers here. Do you guys have any comments?
And we know a little bit more about the reappraisal than we did 2 weeks ago. We won't formally be notified until June. I thought it was going to happen this month, but we'll be notified in June.
Well, we were notified when they sent out the list.
Well,
sorry.
when they sent out the numbers, we know we've tripped the system, but, you know, the state has a formality in telling us you have to reappraise. That formality won't occur until June, you know, according to what we've been told now by the state. And it was suggested to us that we look at a statistical reappraisal, and that we go to NIMRIC, who had done our last one. And, you know, I did do that and was told, no, they can't do a statistical without doing a, you know, site review. And basically, they're currently contracting in 2028. They're 4 years out, and we kind of knew that was going to be the case because that's happening. The entire state is being forced to reappraise, and there's nowhere near enough capacity. And for our purposes, that's not bad. We only have about $87,000 in the account now. We get another $13,000 plus per year, you know, from the state put into that account. In 2016, we had contracted for the last reappraisal. That was like $112,500, and at this point, we're looking, you know, 2028. I'm sure it's at least $150, and it's going to take that long to have that much money in the account, you know, to pay for this. We haven't gone out to get quotes, so I'm just speculating it's going to be at least that with all of the inflation and the severe demand. The piece that I don't understand is the state passed a law where the state is taking over all of these reappraisals, and I've been told that that might not occur for as much as 10 years before they actually do it, which makes no sense to me why they passed the law,
87.
you know, if they're not in a position to do it. So
we're stuck with the same process that's been going on?
yeah. And if we waited till June, till we're formally told you gotta do something, maybe there'll be better information then as to what the state is going to be doing or not doing.
The state talked about getting rid of listers when I was a lister, so.
Yeah.
And I haven't been a lister for 10 years.
So it's,
Yeah.
you know, so this is what we know now versus then. And, you know, somewhere along the way, we'll have to have the discussion of, you know, going out to bid. You know, everyone is overbooked. The people that did it the last time did a great job. You know, they were right on the nose for the first year, and then COVID came and the world went crazy and the numbers didn't mean anything anymore, but that was statewide and nothing to do with the reappraisal they did.
So you could ask for a quote from that lady that did it back in '09.
Let's not go there.
No,
Let's not go
don't.
there.
have to hit you, George.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, that's kind of where we are. It looks like the next one is still going to be on us, even if it's 4+ years down the road. And remember last time it was a 2-year process, so it would be like 2030 before we had new valuations unless something changes. So, that's kind of where we are.
Thank you. 2024 warning, have it here. We have to make a motion to approve this, and then we all have to sign it.
I move that we approve the warning as presented.
All right, 2024, March
Yep.
5th. All right, is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I'll just sign this and pass this over to you, Art. On the back page.
Okay, you got the copy that was signed?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, select board report, that's this copy here.
Yeah, that usually goes in the town report.
Yep. So,
I'll make a motion, we accept it as written.
Second.
is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that's good. School consolidation discussion. George, you wanna?
Yes, I'll be happy to. I figure that I can cover this in probably 45.
Let's keep it short, George.
What's that?
Let's keep it short.
Well, I would figure.
The Bruins are on tonight.
I figured 45 minutes ought to cover it. No, seriously. When this came up at the last meeting that we had, I left with the impression that I had was asked to do two things. Number one was to contact the superintendent and see,
No, you can sign here.
to contact the superintendent and see what he felt about or knew about schools consolidation. He was very enthusiastic about being involved in any discussion on that topic. Apparently, some discussion had been going on in his organization about the very issue. But what he was looking for is that a hope that any discussion of this nature would start at the town level versus the school level. And he also supplied me with, and I can email that out to everybody. He's also, I don't need that quite yet, but that's fine. A list of suggested questions to put on a questionnaire. So that's what I got from that discussion. Now, the other thing that I thought I was asked, excuse me, is to see if the other 3 towns in our district would be interested in joining us in a survey, exit survey for voters. But when I looked through the minutes, and this is no reflection on Katie, because at the end of that meeting things was quite busy and chaotic, I didn't see much information in the minutes that would support my notion that I was asked the second piece to ask the other towns if they'd be interested in join us. So consequently, what I've done is I put together a letter, which I think everybody's got a copy of at this point, that would be a formal way of asking them if they'd be interested in getting involved in some sort of a exit S survey on the topic of school consolidation. So, I chatted with Mike a bit after doing this letter and asked him what he thought we should do, and he said, let's bring it up and see if other board members think it's a good idea or bad idea, or whether we should do it or not. Which brings me back to our discussion that we had on the Quarterline Road earlier, in that, are we gonna do kind of a predetermined policy that we'll follow every time, or is this a thing that we can judge on its own merit? I'm done. I can read the letter if you'd like.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
And I think some people that are here tonight were here during that event. So, excuse me, during recent select board meetings in Clarendon, the increased cost of education tax was a topic of conversation. As a result of the conversation, we decided to contact the select boards of the other 3 towns in the Mill River School District. The Clarendon Select Board would like to know if Wallingford, Timoth, and Shrewsbury would join us in a common non-binding survey about school consolidation for our district. The board members and citizens felt school consolidation should be explored as a way to reduce taxes. Determining public support would be an important step in the process. The survey would be available to voters as they exit the polling place in March. Superintendent Brian Hill of the Mill River School District said that he would be willing and excited to be involved in discussions about school consolidation in our district. You may contact somebody on the board, the chair, or whatever, if you have any questions. So that's it. So what do you want to do? We can toss it in a round pile, or you can rewrite it there it is.
I don't have a problem sending that out. I would request that you talk to the school board first,
Oh, of course,
so that we're not stepping on any toes.
absolutely.
But as long as the school board doesn't have any issues with it, then I don't have any issues with it.
Well, there's one,
Same.
there's two.
My sentiments exactly.
Okay, Katie and I will work on getting that done, and I will contact, school board chair as soon as possible.
In this print here.
Yes?
In this print here.
What's that?
And what was just presented.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
So if the school board's fine with it, he can then proceed to talk to other towns?
Yes.
Yep.
George,
Yes.
the questions that the superintendent came up with, are we privy to that, or that
I
would
was
be?
gonna email it, happy to, I'll send it to Katie. and
Okay.
She'll send it out to
I was just
whoever
curious
wants
to
it.
see what the questions were.
And they're suggested, not definite, they're just suggestions.
Okay.
No, it was, I remember when I got it, but not very long ago, the questions. And knowing this meeting was coming up, so, here I am.
Thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Katie, do you have anything else, under town officers report?
Just I think at the last meeting, we were talking about the Kingsley Bridge and looking for an update on the timeline, and I did receive back, an update, and it's looking like late June with the project completed by early July is the hope. So he did explain like
Did you see
that the flooding in July caused like a 3-month delay. And they're currently working on repairing truss members, installing the proper internal bracing. So if you'd like, I can post like a notice on the community page and the website,
Yeah,
just to
I
update
think-
residents with where we're at.
I think that would be good. I'm surprised Janine Nielsen hasn't, usually she calls me.
Also, I think at the last meeting we talked about there was a sign project. You were saying like Walker Mountain had signs
Yes.
put in by the state. So I did some digging in the vault and found an agreement between the state of Vermont and town of Clarendon for the high risk rural roads program.
Yes,
And
that's what I was thinking of at the time.
so the 3 roads mentioned were I believe Walker Mountain Road, North Shrewsbury Road, and Cold River Road. So, in your memory, are those completed? I looked through minutes, and in 2018 there was mention of a resident coming in to complain about signage.
All 3 spots have been done.
Yeah.
So I would say that wraps up that question about if all the signs have been placed.
Is there any requirement that we continue on this, or I guess that would be the follow-up question. I mean, I'm not anxious to have bigger signs, I'm just wondering.
I don't believe so. I want to say the agreement states that any further maintenance would be by the municipality.
What was the date on that?
2016.
I know it was a
Okay,
couple of
that's
days ago.
The first road they did was,
Walk 'em up.
Walk them up.
I thought it was Walking Out.
Stayed over this side.
They were up on
Summer,
Cold River Road.
They staged in our yard that one whole summer. Well, it was a couple months, wasn't it, Joe?
It was
It was in the fall, right?
That's when we had problems with the signs on Walk up by the hotel.
Yeah, we had more problems with signs on this side than we did the signs over here.
That's because of the ledge. They didn't drive the,
No, it's
that's,
the looks and likes of that side versus this side.
when I talked to one of the guys that was doing the job there, he was saying that they couldn't beat the base thing down because of ledge.
So it says here in the agreement that following completion of the project, the municipality shall be responsible for the maintenance of signs, guardrails, and pavement markings.
Thank you, Kate.
That's all I have.
All right. Art, do you have any concerns?
Nope.
Me either.
What's that?
Yes, I have a brief one, as usual. And I don't mean to denigrate anybody or cause any undue frustrations, but one of the things that I had learned for myself many, many years ago was that if you lose your temper, you lose. And I just thought we need to all be mindful of that. That's it.
All right, at this time, we have, an executive session, I think, for personnel. It's, town crew. So, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
For how long?
15 minutes.
15 minutes.